Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, with our second topic. We're discussing today also in our second topic the World Heritage Day. And to shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have this phone with our dear guest, Mr. Ihab Kamel, historian and researcher. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Well, sir, on the 18th of April was the World Heritage Day, which features a number of heritage sites, and it mentioned one of the most important heritage sites in the whole world is Old Cairo. So give us an idea about this, please.
Well, we have to understand that Cairo, as a capital, it has got a great history and heritage. If we look at Cairo, for example, in the ancient times, we will find that it's dating back to the 10th century. And one of the very few cities that had kept the old part intact. Of course, Cairo, if you look at the old part, it covers a very limited space because because it was not supposed to be for the inhabitants of the public. But you will notice that all the gates of Cairo are still intact, the four gates. A great deal of the defensive wall of Cairo is still intact. You will notice that also even residential or residences, private residences from ancient Cairo are still existing. Mosques, khanqahs or ancient schools, name it. So it's very rare that you would find in a modern capital all these ancient areas that speaks about its history intact. But in Cairo, as a matter of fact, they are still intact, speaking about the medieval history of Cairo.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Kamel, also the Old Cairo was named as the capital of heritage in the world.
Yes, indeed, because as well, we're not only talking about Fatimid Cairo, but Cairo had extended to include as well earlier sites, like the site that we call nowadays Old Cairo that contains the first mosque in Africa, and this is the Mosque of Amr ibn al-As, and the ancient churches and the Babylon fortress with St. Sergius Church, with the church that was built over the Holy Crypt that had hosted the Holy Family for more than 6 months, containing one of the most ancient Jewish synagogues in the whole world, the synagogue of Ben Ezra, the Hanging Church, the Babylon fortress that was built by the Romans in the 1st century AD, now is considered to be within the dome. Over there we have the remains of the capital of Fustat, yes, of Cairo. So you're talking about a city that has a variety in its varying Islamic, Christo-ish, Roman, Islamic, which is a very rare combination that you might not really find in some other place. Especially that all these areas had been very well taken care of. They are under continuous restoration and care. So basically speaking, you can say that the ancient heritage of Cairo is still speaking about Cairo's history, is still intact, showing Cairo's history, revealing lots of the secrets of the past and the history of this great capital.
Yes, of course, as you've just mentioned, also Cairo is more than 1,400 years old. So it has a very long history. Well, Mr. Kamel, also Egypt occupies the World Heritage List with 7 archaeological sites, and the first of them is Cairo, the capital. Could you name some of the most important archaeological sites sites in Egypt, please, which lies on the list of the heritage, World Heritage?
Well, I will take two which are very important. The first one is also an archaeological site, which is Thebes, the ancient Thebes area. As you know, Thebes was considered to be one of the most ancient capitals in the world and one of the ancient capitals for ancient Egypt at a certain period of history.
Yes.
Thebes is very well known for its great heritage, especially that it's divided into two sections, East and West Bank.
Yes.
The East Bank, that is what we call the metropolis of the city, which is containing two of the greatest religious complexes in the whole world, the Temple of Luxor and the Temple of Karnak. Karnak was considered to be the biggest religious complex in the whole world, dedicated for a single deity, occupying 62 acres of land, linked to another beautiful temple, which is the Temple of Luxor, and they were both dedicated to the god Ammon. That is the metropolis. Also the necropolis of Thebes, which is by all means a great area with all these tombs, from the tombs of the kings in the Valley of the Kings, containing 62 tombs for ancient pharaohs covering the period between 18th to the 20th dynasties. You have as well the Valley of the Queens with a masterpiece of art, which is the tomb of Queen Nefertari in the Valley of the Queens, to the tombs of the nobles, which are scattered everywhere in the West Bank of Thebes, in Asasif, in Khoja, in Sheikh Abdul Qurna, everywhere, plus a number of beautiful funerary temples that were built by the ancient pharaohs, like the Ramesseum, like Medina Tabu, like Deir al-Bahari, which is a masterpiece of architecture that was cut in the mountain of the West Bank, and they're all intact, and they are all have been restored, and they are in a magnificent condition, turning the West Bank of Thebes into an open-air museum. And this is something unique for any place. Usually when you go to an archaeological site, and I mean, I've seen archaeological sites in other countries, you will find that the archaeological site, it's limited in space and area. But in Thebes, it's limitless. You will find that it's extending, and up till now we are still discovering and adding to this magnificent site. So of course it's worth being added to the World Heritage. Also another site which is something different and unique, Wadi Hitan in Fayoum, because this is giving an idea about the geological history of Egypt, and it shows the variety of its touristic product. This site, which has got the fossils of ancient creatures, ancient whales that existed in this area, which represents a very important period, showing the transition from being land animals into marine creatures, and they are still intact. And honestly speaking, the museum that is built over there and the exhibition and the site itself, it had been really done in an excellent way of display.
Yes, Mr. Kamel, also recently, 2 or 3 months ago, the UNESCO announced that it registered the old Egyptian museum in Tahrir on its list. So, What's the importance of this? The museum in Tahrir, the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir,
The building, the
was
building
put
itself,
on, yes,
the building of the Museum of Tahrir, it's a masterpiece of architecture. It's dating back to more than 100 years. And you have to take in consideration that this is the first museum in the Middle East and Africa. This museum was built at a time where the idea of building a museum did not exist in the region or the continent. The architecture itself, it's amazing. It's because, as you know, the architect was Italian, and it became a part of central Cairo, or the 19th century Cairo, which is known as medieval Cairo.
yes.
So
yes.
this museum had hosted the ancient Egyptian treasures for ages, for decades. So with
Yes.
its beautiful architecture,
Yes.
it should be considered to be as part of the World Heritage.
Yes, I thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your valuable information, Mr. Ihab Kamel, historian and researcher. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone. With this, my dear viewers, we come to the end of this episode of our program, The Breakfast Show. My name is Amal Mukhtar. Thank you for watching.